At 23 years old, Lucy had absolutely nothing, no job, no home, and nowhere to go. She was completely desperate. Her resume was empty, but her charisma wasn't. She planned to charm her way in with a smile and a promise of hard work. She knocked until her knuckles bruised. No answer. Defeated. She slumped against the cold door to catch her breath. Leaving wasn't an option, so she waited in the freezing cold, assuming the master was away on business or just in a deep slumber. This mansion sat on a lonely peak. There were no inns here, no carriages to whisk her back to civilization. Walking back impossible. Besides, she couldn't walk away from the prize an annual salary of 30 million gold. The flyer promised a fortune, but the employer's name stood out in bold letters, Scar. It was highlighted clearly he despised humans, and there was only one vacancy available. An offer this mouth-watering usually meant a trap. Even Lucy suspected a human trafficking scheme at first, but the villagers spilled the tea. The owner was a nightmare to work for, firing staff left and right. Suddenly, the high pay made sense. It wasn't a salary, it was compensation for suffering. The pay was fixed so high because nobody survived the job. This house was like a survival game, and the rumors whispered a terrifying secret: the employer was a dragon. Oh no, it wasn't just a whisper. He was a literal dragon. Lucy knew the truth, but honestly, she couldn't care less. She had reached rock bottom. Human, beast, or monster, if they had coin, she would work. She raced to the mansion, expecting a towering fortress, but found a modest estate instead. Plus, rumor had it Scar ended a war. That made him a hero, right? He was her golden ticket. With 30 million gold a year, her dream of owning a home was finally within reach. She was ready to go above and beyond. She would throw in premium service if she had to. Tail polishing, scale scrubbing. No task was too crazy for that kind of money. Everyone warned her. His temper was short, his standards impossible, and failure meant death. Her response: show me the money. She had slaved away for tyrants who paid her peanuts. Compared to them, this dragon was a philanthropist. 15 years of scraping by, $1 million in savings. It would all change if she landed this position. That hope was the fuel for her fire. It pushed her forward. Tragically, her body gave out before her spirit did. She collapsed at the gate, the freezing night stealing her consciousness. She just wanted the sun. When her eyes finally fluttered open, she saw it. A warm glow radiating from inside the mansion. The master was home. Her exhaustion vanished instantly. She scrambled up and sprinted toward the light, desperate to be seen. But as she ran, she glanced up. A full moon hung heavy and bright in the night sky. Dread washed over her. The villagers had been specific: never visit the mansion on a full moon night. Just great. She had broken the one cardinal rule. Maybe it would be fine. Spoiler alert, it was not. The reality hit her hard. That welcoming light wasn't a lamp, it was a massive explosion tearing through the night. Lucy stood in awe, but panic set in quickly. Not for her safety, but for the owner. If he died, her paycheck died with him. Perhaps that explains her insanity. Instead of fleeing, she charged straight into the blast zone. Fate decided she needed a timeout. A shard of debris slammed into her head, dropping her to the ground instantly. Even as her vision faded, her thoughts were on the safety of a man who hadn't even hired her yet. Right before the darkness took her, she spotted a silhouette standing in the shattered window. Who was that? It was Scar. He descended, bewildered to find a human girl unconscious on his doorstep. He leaned in to check for a pulse. As she drifted in the void, a memory surfaced. It took her back to her very first day of work. She was only 8 years old. It was a snowy day just like this one when her mother sent her out to earn her keep. Her mother hated it, but Lucy didn't mind. She believed that hard work would buy them a house and a warm meal. She ran off into the cold, looking back to see her mother waving, tears streaming down her face. She yelled back, but the thick snow swallowed her voice. The memory jerked her awake, tears stinging her eyes, but she had to focus. She blinked, confused. Why was she sleeping on the floor? The events were a blur. Her head throbbed in rhythm with her pulse, and just when she thought it couldn't get worse, she realized she wasn't alone. She recoiled in terror. A stranger lay beside her, his skin a canvas of intricate, glowing tattoos. An aura of pure danger radiated from him. She felt that if she stared too long, she might be cursed on the spot. But suddenly, fear vanished. Her eyes landed on a tail. This wasn't a monster, it was her paycheck. It was the master. Hovering between sleep and unconsciousness, Scar is trapped in a nightmare. Just like Lucy, he is tormented by the ghosts of his past. The darkness drags him back to his days of captivity, suffering under the cruelty of a captor with golden hair, blonde, just like Lucy. The vision of his chains clashes with his recent memories, jolting his body awake. Gasps escape his lips as reality sets in, but he immediately senses something is off. And by off, I mean surprisingly comfortable. He is tucked in securely, with a crackling fire lit nearby to banish the chill. He suspects the trespasser he nearly executed is responsible. For a split second, panic rises as he mistakes her for his tormentor, but a sharper look confirms they are strangers. Still, relief washes over him. He is glad his instincts held back and he didn't end her life right there on the floor. Although, he makes a mental note the next employment advertisement must strictly forbid applicants with blonde hair. He never considered it before, simply because he never had a golden-haired employee until this disaster. But the shock isn't over. Scar opens the door to find Lucy standing there, fully dressed as a maid and covered in gauze. Indeed, she looks like she's cosplaying a mummy maid for a Halloween party. The situation spirals when she bows politely, greeting him with a cheerful voice. She calls him master. She doesn't stop there. She proudly announces that she whipped up a stew using scraps from his pantry. Noticing the supplies are low, she promises a gourmet feast once he restocks. Irritation flares in his chest. He demands to know why she is still breathing in his house instead of running for the hills. She simply replies that she is here to work. Scar is left dumbfounded. Is she insane? Most likely, but that is not the only conclusion he draws. He suspects she is something entirely different. Regardless, he has no energy for her or her trauma-inducing hair. He tries to banish her, claiming he has a strict policy against hiring blonde humans. As for her wounds, he offers to pay for her medical treatment, provided she disappears immediately and never looks back. Instead of taking the money and fleeing, Lucy pleads her case. She insists she saw no fine print about hair color in the job description. When Scar lies that it is a brand new rule, she jumps to a wild conclusion. She assumes it involves a tragic ex-girlfriend. As if anyone would date Mr. Lonely Dragon. Her comment unwittingly stabs at his trauma. The memory of his captor flashes in his mind, filling him with instant revulsion. However, he realizes this misunderstanding is a weapon. If he plays the heartbroken lover, he might finally get her to leave. He decides to play along. Her expression softens into genuine pity. She assures him she understands his pain. Scar is internally victorious, certain this emotional ploy will send her packing. When it comes to blondes, his trauma overrides his logic. He sees no need to adapt or overcome it when there are countless other humans desperate for a job. But while he silently celebrates his victory, Lucy does the unthinkable. She marches toward the table. She snatches a knife, with eyes burning with resolve. She offers to shave her head completely bald just so he can feel comfortable around her. Scar, the terrifying dragon, is left trembling in fear. He is completely bewildered by her sheer relentless insanity. Once the chaos settles, they sit for a serious conversation. He reveals his true nature. He is a half-blood dragon, as the legend suggested. Furthermore, he admits he cannot transform into his full reptilian form. He expects her to be horrified, questioning why she would ever want to serve a defective beast. Yet, she shatters his expectations. She makes it crystal clear that she cares nothing for dragon politics. Her mind is locked on one thing, only the paycheck. She explains that her village is located at the edge of the world. Information like dragon lore rarely reaches their ears. Her entire education comes from cheap dragon souvenirs sold to tourists. Souvenirs that look nothing like Scar, considering his half-human heritage. Reflecting on the chaos, she remembers how he stopped the blade before she could shave her head. He also ignored her bandaged appearance, proving he isn't cruel. These small mercies lead her to a single conclusion. Beneath the scales and the scowl, he is a good man. Still, he seems emotionally fragile. She decides she must tread carefully around his sensitive heart. With her thoughts racing, she watches him devour the meal she prepared. A smile touches her lips, pleased to see him eating with such gusto. When he scrapes the bowl clean, he looks utterly depressed. She asks if the flavor was to his liking. Scar, visibly traumatized by the culinary horror he just swallowed, complains. He only ate quickly because he was starving. He fired his last mate ages ago and has survived on raw vegetables ever since. By his standards, she is a catastrophic cook. It is a harsh critique. It reminds her of her childhood, when she played house with a boy who said the exact same thing about her mud pies. Nostalgia washes over her. She remembers those days with a bright smile, an expression that makes Scar feel strangely uneasy. Moving on from the disastrous food, he prepares to critique her cleaning skills, but as he looks around, he realizes she has done a magnificent job with the table. His plan to scold her crumbles into dust. Unknown to him, while he was unconscious, she cleaned the mansion, organized the inventory, and memorized the entire layout. Stunned by her admission of competence, he stares blankly at her. She strikes while the iron is hot, promising to do even more if he officially hires her. Her determination is terrifying. He knows she has destroyed his plan to find a fault and fire her. She seems crazy, far crazier than someone simply desperate for coin. But he refuses to yield. He searches desperately for a deal breaker. His mental checklist comes up empty until he spots a ring on her finger. He asks if she is married. She nods in agreement. She reveals that she is enduring all of this to save money for a house, for herself and her husband. It might have been a calculated performance to secure the position, but let's be real, it worked like a charm. Night falls, and she retreats to her assigned quarters, only to find a layer of dust thick enough to plant crops in. Before she can even dream of resting, she has to scrub the place down. Gazing at the ring on her finger, she marvels at her success. It was all a little theater, a perfect lie that landed her the gig. The band actually belonged to her mother, a simple trinket she wears as a shield to repel unwanted male attention. But hey, it got her hired, so who cares? She does a little victory dance for the high salary, silently thanking her mom in the afterlife. Meanwhile, the master of the house, Scar, lies in silence, radiating pure annoyance. His gut tells him something is off about this woman. Still, he holds her written pledge like a shield. Surely, a married woman won't try to climb into his bed like the others. And if she tries anything funny, he can simply toss her out. That comforting thought finally allows his tense shoulders to relax as he drifts off. Before sleep claims him, he recalls her disastrous bandage attempt that left her looking like a mummy. A faint smirk touches his lips. She is an eccentric creature. Her hair color still bothers him, but he has a plan. He will simply avoid making eye contact. Problem solved. Despite the risks, he clings to one silver lining. Perhaps tonight, this strange maid will appear in his dreams instead of the nightmare that usually haunts him. But fate is cruel. The shadowy figure of his captor returns to torment his sleep once more. That, however, is not Lucy's problem. For her, the only thing that matters is her new status. She is officially an employed maid, and her first morning feels absolutely legendary. She keeps her hair unshaven, honoring the contract. As long as she stays in her lane and follows the master's lead, everything is perfect. She signed a strict vow of secrecy, and frankly, she respects it. His stern rules make him seem like a dignified, noble dragon far from the monster rumors painted him to be. Lucy concludes that the nasty gossip must have come from ungrateful wretches who simply got on his bad side. Pushing that aside, she reflects on the rules and remembers a shady conversation with an agent from the employment center. The man had whispered a dirty secret: if she could manage to seduce a dragon, she would earn a fortune. He even offered to be the middleman to make it happen, but she turned him down flat. Fast forward to now, and she's serving a dragon whose coffers are practically overflowing with gold. The exorbitant salary he offered is proof enough of his immense wealth. It makes sense now. His previous maids weren't there to clean, they were gold diggers trying to seduce him. No wonder he is so grumpy and enforces such strict rules. But honestly, who just barges into a master's bedroom uninvited? She isn't that desperate or insane. Romance in the workplace, absolutely disgusting. She is a professional. Time flies when you're getting paid. Just like that. 3 peaceful weeks drift by. Then, out of nowhere, Scar approaches her. He begs her to leave the mansion immediately, promising full pay. Lucy is stunned, especially looking at the storm brewing outside. He insists she take a paid leave, go to the village, stay there for a few days, and only return when summoned. He calls it a mini vacation, but Lucy isn't blind. His breathing is ragged, and sweat beads on his forehead. Something is wrong. Concerned, she presses for a reason, but he shuts her down instantly with the classic "it is none of your business" defense. He adds a chilling warning when she returns. She must stay in her room, even if the house shakes with thunderous noise. Unless, of course, she wants to get hurt again like last time. That shuts her up. Visibly shaken and a bit hurt by the sudden dismissal, Lucy finds comfort in the only thing that never betrays her, the heavy bag of gold coins he shoved into her hands. It is enough to survive for a month, not just a few days, but as she weighs the bag, she starts wondering where all this wealth comes from. He's a noble, sure, but is he involved in dirty business? He often disappears and returns with his clothes stained and soiled. Or perhaps Scar simply has zero concept of the value of money. That seems likely. She intends to head to town as instructed, until a little devil whispers a greedy idea in her ear. Let's be real, this is a life-changing amount of cash for someone like Lucy, who has never held such riches. Why spend it on a hotel? Her inner miser wins the debate. She decides to secretly stay in the mansion and stash the cash instead. The mansion is huge. He stays in the far east wing. She is in the far west. The odds of them running into each other are practically zero. With zero supplies or logic, she enacts her plan. Hiding in her room, she prepares to fast like a monk to save a few coins. If the hunger pangs get too bad, she will just chug the water she boiled yesterday. A solid plan, right? As minutes drag into agonizing hours, she starts to question her life choices. Still, his demand for her to leave was incredibly suspicious. Honestly, he is the one who needs a break. Lately, he's been acting bizarre, barely touching the 5-star meals she enslaves herself to cook. Is he sick? Is he dying? The possibilities swirl in her mind. She runs through every scenario until she glances out the window. There, hanging in the dark sky, is a massive full moon. The villager's warning echoes in her memory. Stay away on full moon nights. Suddenly, the terrifying pieces of the puzzle click into place. His sickness seems connected to the full moon. Could it be that the master is actually a werewolf? But the details do not matter right now. A sick patient requires desperate care. Although the temptation is strong, she swore a solemn oath to never ascend those stairs, no matter what sounds echo from above. Understood. But in case you have forgotten, Lucy arrived at this mansion on a full moon night, and that ended in absolute disaster. It is starting to feel like a terrifying case of deja vu. The air grows heavy with a sinister aura, followed by blood-curdling screams for help. The immediate future is uncertain, but fate lands Lucy amidst the wreckage once more, bleeding and clutching Scar's hand tight. Judging by the mountain of debris crushing him, the master is completely knocked out. But how did this catastrophe unfold? Naturally, the answers remain elusive. Instead, the scene shifts to total confusion as Lucy finds herself lying on pristine, manicured grass in a suspiciously serene world. As her eyes flutter open, bewilderment sets in. A massive, unfamiliar mansion dominates the horizon. This is definitely not her workplace. Desperately, she tries to solve the puzzle of her fragmented memories. The last thing she recalls is her master's agonizing scream. A deafening crash followed, shaking the very foundation. Driven by pure panic and loyalty, she ran toward the danger, not away from it. Inside the master's bedroom, she found him buried beneath the rubble. Panic seized her heart. She frantically clawed at the debris, searching for a pulse, praying he was still alive. But before she could confirm his safety, history repeated itself. A stray shard struck her down, fading her world to black. Yet, that explains nothing about her current state. Unharmed, unheard, she quickly deduces this must be a lucid dream. Still, this is no time for napping. She needs to wake up immediately and begin searching for an exit from this illusion. Her heart aches for Scar, and she vows to save him the moment she wakes. But suddenly, a metallic rattling catches her ear. It is the unmistakable sound of heavy chains. Is a poor animal trapped nearby? Unable to ignore a creature in need, she follows the noise to a dark basement. Usually, she laughs in the face of danger and rushes into the fray. But for the first time, Lucy freezes. As she descends into the darkness, a suffocating dread wraps around her soul. Every instinct screams that she is stepping into a forbidden realm. The atmosphere grows thicker and stranger with every step. What kind of nightmare is this? She whispers, hoping it is just a figment of her imagination, but a horrifying sight awaits her. A blonde man is draining the life force from a young boy. We know this scene. It is the nightmare that haunts Scar every night. She has stepped into his memories. She might not realize the connection yet, but the truth is undeniable. Strangely, the captor seems aware of the future. While draining the boy, he mocks Scar about the new maid hired for a fortune. He sneers that it is a foolish investment, but ultimately, that is not his concern. His only god is greed, obsessed with the wealth this stolen blood will bring. He gloats about his riches, completely failing to notice Lucy approaching with a massive hammer. And why would he? He's too drunk on power and manic laughter to see his doom coming, until she silences him by dropping the hammer on him literally. The impact sends him into oblivion, leaving a bump that will throb for eternity. Without wasting a second, Lucy rushes to save little Scar. She pauses, studying his face. He looks suspiciously like her master. If this really is him, he will be furious that she saw him in such a vulnerable state. Little Scar flinches, mistaking her for an enemy, but when she breaks his chains, his fear turns to trust, and they sprint for freedom. With nowhere to go and chivalry clouding her judgment, she declares that anywhere is better than this hell and drags him away. Lucy manages to escape the nightmare, but her physical body remains trapped in unconsciousness. However, her slumber is interrupted. She feels something wet on her skin, a tongue, but there are no dogs in the mansion. The realization hits her like a truck. She jolts awake, eyes wide, only to find Scar looming over her. Talk about awkward, yet he acts completely unbothered, simply noting that she has finally returned to the land of the living. Terrified and confused, Lucy lets out a scream, demanding an explanation for this bizarre situation. Maintaining his icy composure, he commands her to stay still. He is not finished yet. She refuses to comply, pulling away in disgust. She scolds him, shouting that only animals lick people, and it is not like it actually heals injuries. Shockingly, it does work. She is left speechless. Her hand is pristine. She remembers being crushed by debris and bleeding from a head injury. She should be in agony, but the pain is non-existent. She pushes the darker thoughts away. Instead, a legend pops into her mind. Does dragon saliva possess miraculous healing properties? She voices her theory aloud. To her surprise, a shy blush creeps up his neck. He suspects she knew his secret identity all along, but one look at her oblivious face tells him the truth. She is purely guessing. His relief is short-lived. His expression darkens as he remembers the real issue. Why is she still in this dangerous house when he paid her to leave? Realizing she was completely cornered, Lucy abandoned all excuses and chose the path of naked honesty. Head bowed low in submission, she begged for mercy. She confessed that she had hidden away simply to save the money he gave her. Her desperation made him scoff. Was she possessed by a greed demon or just obsessed with gold? Terror gripped her heart. One wrong move meant being thrown out on the streets, with tears welling in her eyes. She pleaded her case with desperate intensity. She hadn't broken their pact. She never even reached his bed, having collapsed from exhaustion right beside it. Scar let out a stressed sigh. Technically, she was right. She hadn't violated a single rule. But that wasn't the real danger lurking in the air. The true question was impossible to ignore. How on earth had Lucy appeared inside his dream? Lucy blinked in confusion, but Scar pressed forward, his voice sharp. Was she an undercover mage? Did she wield some secret wizardry? Thankfully, logic was on her side. She argued with a bitter smile that if she possessed such divine power, she certainly wouldn't be scrubbing floors as a maid. He accepted her reasoning with surprising ease, yet an unsettling feeling continued to gnaw at her. A memory flashed through her mind. Right before she blacked out, she had gripped his hand. Could that simple touch have bridged their minds? She apologized profusely, swearing she only meant to check his pulse. Meanwhile, realization dawned on Scar. It was his burden to bear the ancient curse upon his body. That dark affliction birthed endless nightmares. And because she touched him, he had dragged her helpless soul right into his personal hell. Panic rose in Lucy's chest. Curses were no laughing matter. She asked if he would be all right, and he brushed it off with a casual nod. But the truth was grim. If he were a mere human, that level of dark energy would have already claimed his life. Her voice softened with genuine care, but he built a wall around his heart. He dismissed her concern, branding her as nothing more than a greedy servant trying to protect her paycheck. His stinging words pierced her, but shock still lingered. She couldn't reconcile the terrified child in the dream with the cold master before her. She tried to retreat, sensing a tragic backstory she wasn't meant to hear, but Scar wasn't finished. Inside that dreamscape, she had seen him exposed and vulnerable. For that transgression, he demanded she take full responsibility. Lucy accepted the burden without complaint. She immediately set to work, preparing a sanctuary for Scar in the mansion's east wing. With her quarters now down the hall, a chilling thought struck her. Would she survive the chaos of the next full moon? Scar had revealed the volatile truth last night, while thrashing in the throes of a nightmare. His dormant magic had accidentally ignited. A normal human just kicks off a blanket. Scar, however, tossed literal fireballs. As long as she stayed far from the house, she would remain unburnt. This catastrophe was exclusive to the full moon, the one night his mental fortress crumbled to dust. Unlike ordinary nights, the full moon trapped him. He was a prisoner in his sleep, unable to wake even as his magic rampaged out of control. That was precisely why the job advertisement had a strict clause, absolute isolation on full moon nights. Like a lightning bolt, clarity struck. The grave warning from the employment center finally made sense. Shame washed over her in hot waves. Not only had she ignored the danger, but she had also shamelessly feigned injury just to secure this job. Driven by guilt, she made a bold vow. She would enter his dreams every month and slay the nightmares that haunted him. If she could bring him peace, the mansion and everyone in it would be safe. The suggestion made Scar's face burn a deep crimson. Yet, she remained oblivious to the nuance of his expression and the sudden shift in the atmosphere. Come morning, his stubbornness remained. He flatly refused her offer. Confused, she argued that she wouldn't even charge extra for this nightly service. But money wasn't the issue. He simply couldn't bear the thought of another soul seeing him in such a vulnerable, unclothed state. Undeterred, she insisted. She swore to keep her eyes covered and only unleash her fury upon the monsters holding him captive. Her persistence hit a wall of silence. Desperate, she played her trump card, reminding him that the full moon was his time of greatest suffering. If he let her help, she could save the mansion and spare his soul. She couldn't stand by and watch him shatter in the long run. His expression wavered. He didn't want to break either. Yet, his pride rejected her pity. She quickly countered, explaining it wasn't pity at all. It was genuine worry. She refused to let his mind snap under the pressure. Desperately, she rattled off solutions: a hobby, a friend, anything for emotional support. She ruled out every option in seconds, landing on the ultimate cure. What this lonely master needed most was a lover. His face twisted in distaste, but she plowed ahead. She advised him to glam up and enhance his appeal if he ever wanted to find a mate. Furthermore, she interrogated him about his type. Had he fancied any qualities in his previous maids? But her matchmaker dreams were crushed. He coldly informed her that his heart was none of her business. As the day wore on, Lucy returned to her reality scrubbing and cleaning, just as she was hired to do. Her mind drifted back to his scolding. His sharp reaction illuminated the dark truth behind his strict rules and isolated life. It wasn't just paranoia. His former maids had frequently sneaked into his room, attempting to seduce the master of the house. The sheer audacity of it made her blood boil. But setting that aside, a sinking feeling took hold. Perhaps she was becoming a problem, too. Just as Scar had claimed, her curiosity knew no bounds. Yet, how could anyone blame her? Beneath that inquisitiveness lay a desperate desire to save him from his fate. Even a humble maid might hold the key to her master's salvation, if only fate grants her the chance. A memory flashed like lightning, the mysterious figure from Scar's nightmares. Instinct told her this stranger held the secret to shattering the curse. Surely Scar knew his location. She resolved to hunt this creep down herself, even if it meant sacrificing her day off during the blood-red full moon. She would do whatever it took to extract the cure from him short of seduction. Of course, failure was not an option, but reality soon dampened her fire. If reaching this man were simple, Scar would have already hunted him down and ended this cycle of torment long ago. Instead, he remained the prisoner of his own fate. The thought twisted Lucy's heart so violently that a sudden, sharp pain pierced her chest. Agony threatened to bring her to her knees, but she gritted her teeth. She had a duty to fulfill, and she refused to crumble now. Fighting through the waves of pain, her gaze landed on a fallen book. Wondering what literary taste her dark master harbored, she reached down to retrieve it. It was a children's picture dictionary. A wild suspicion sparked instantly. Did he have a secret child hidden away in the shadows? Upon closer inspection, her reality shattered. The implications were so explosive she marched straight to Scar himself, demanding answers. But before unleashing the truth, she needed one final confirmation. Was it truly he who had gathered these volumes for study? Once verified, her jaw practically hit the floor. the terrifying master of the house, was obsessed with fluffy romance novels. Scar immediately protested. He insisted these were dark grimoires on curses and demons, or at least that was what he had commanded the bookstore clerk to retrieve. He had no clue his research material was actually a collection of best-selling love stories. Suddenly, the mix-up made perfect sense to Lucy. Fantasy romance novels often featured curses and demons. To the untrained eye, fiction could easily mask itself as fact. To make matters worse, that sly clerk had swindled him, selling these common paperbacks as rare, ancient texts for a small fortune. In truth, they were bargain bin items. Hearing this, Scar's aura flared with humiliation and rage, though Lucy chalked it up to an innocent mistake born of ignorance. But the dictionary, that was indefensible. It was clearly designed for toddlers, not a terrifying lord. However, her heart softened when he confessed the truth. It wasn't a mistake. He had purchased it to master the human language. For a mighty dragon, human letters were alien runes. Despite his vast power, he was still struggling to decipher even the simplest sentences. Lucy's expression melted into a warm smile. She acknowledged his valiant efforts and made a bold offer she would become his tutor and guide him through the human markets. It was the perfect plan. With her cleaning duties lightening, she could steal an hour each day to help him navigate this world. Scar turned away, shyness coloring his cheeks, muttering that married women were impossibly nosy. He agreed to join her tomorrow. He refused to remain cursed a moment longer. Meanwhile, a spark of excitement lit up within her. Reading and shopping together, it sounded less like a chore and more like a date. The following day, they ventured into the bustling heart of the city, their mission to hunt down genuine tomes on breaking curses. Fortune smiled upon them. They found the text immediately. Lucy beamed, energized by the vibrant crowd, while Scar looked ready to burn the noisy town to the ground. Clad in a disguise to hide his draconic features, he grumbled as they wove through the throng, insisting this entire expedition might be a futile waste of time. Lucy nodded along, but her hope remained unshaken. Even a slim chance was better than surrendering to despair. She cheerfully suggested they study the books together back home. The intimacy of her words caught him off guard, sending a flush of heat to his face. Desperate to hide his reaction, he snatched the book from her hands. "It is safer with me," he stammered, claiming he was less likely to lose their prize. His clumsy attempt to mask his feelings only laid them bare. He resembled a protective older brother trying too hard to act indifferent, unaware of how transparent he truly was. The shopping was done, but Lucy had one final destination in mind. She steered them toward a mysterious tattoo stall. She needed the artist to remove the ominous markings on her skin. She suspected this ink was the root of the nightmares plaguing her sleep. At the shop, she boldly played the role of the devoted wife, clinging to Scar's arm. Though he remained stoic, internally, the dragon was on the verge of a meltdown. Panic began to set in. The situation spiraled further when the artist, unable to remove the mark, offered to cover it with skin tone pigment instead. Lucy turned to Scar for permission, her voice dripping with sweetness as she called him honey. That was the final straw. His composure shattered, and he bolted from the shop. His excuse floated back to them on the wind, something about pigment being useless, but it was clearly a tactical retreat. Committed to the role, Lucy apologized for her husband's odd behavior. She explained away his flight as extreme social anxiety and paid the man for his trouble. The shop owner, moved by the plight of such a patient wife, decided he couldn't let her leave without assistance. He lowered his voice, offering a chilling warning. That tattoo wasn't mere ink. It was a manifestation of black magic. He had felt its sinister energy the moment she walked in. Lucy's blood ran cold, suspecting this dark art was the anchor of Scar's curse. She desperately asked if he knew how to shatter such a spell. Regrettably, he lacked the power to break it himself. However, he knew of a master who dealt in such forbidden arts. As the artist sketched a map to this mysterious savior, outside, Scar had finally stopped running, but his relief was short-lived. A sudden chill crawled down his spine. He couldn't pinpoint the source, but the air grew heavy with malice. Unbeknownst to him, a cloaked figure seething with rage had just brushed past, and the real danger was just beginning. That suspicious figure vanishes into the crowd for now, but there is no time to waste. Lucy drags Scar away to begin their mission. In the blink of an eye, they are scouring the bustling market for their target. But finding one man in this chaos is like searching for a needle in a haystack. They approach a shopkeeper for directions, but the man remains stone-faced until Lucy offers to purchase a flower. However, fate plays a cruel joke. She unwittingly picks a confession flower. According to the merchant, this bloom is enchanted to expose cheating husbands, a detail that makes Scar shift uncomfortably in his boots. Determined, she rummages through the rest of the inventory, but their search is rudely cut short by a cloaked dwarf crashing the party. The stranger slams into Lucy without a care, forcing Scar to step in, his voice dropping an octave. Watch where you are walking around my wife, It is no surprise, this is the same shadower from earlier, and instead of apologizing, he stands his ground with arrogance. The dwarf brags about his magical prowess, his rudeness sparking a flame of rage in Scar. The dragon is seconds away from incinerating him with a fireball, but Lucy intervenes just in time. Judging by his aura, the man is clearly a sorcerer. Using her charm and stunning beauty, Lucy manages to calm the situation and get him to listen. Meanwhile, Scar remains on high alert. Grand Sorcerer Doji, as he calls himself, Scar is not buying it. How could he? The magical energy radiating from this man is pitifully mediocre. A quick soul scan confirms that his spirit has such low value that even desperation wouldn't drive a demon to lend him power. But there is something far more irritating than his weak magic, the disgusting, lecherous way he stares at Lucy. Scar mentally notes to crush Doji once they get what they need, oblivious to the killing intent. Lucy negotiates, offering 1 million coins for the tattoo secret and 500,000 just for a lead. Greed finally piqued by the massive sum, the sorcerer asks to inspect the mysterious mark. But the moment the tattoo is revealed, Doji bursts into maniacal laughter. This is the work of a top-tier sorcerer, he cackles. He explains that every stroke of the design screams one thing, the creator's absolute intention to dominate and control the bearer. Fortunately, the circle of high-level mages is small. He recognizes the signature style instantly and knows exactly who designed it. He is willing to talk, but not for coin. No, his price is far more personal. He demands quality time with Lucy. A beauty like you is rare, he sneers. It should be an instant refusal. Yet, paralyzed by the need to save Scar, Lucy hesitates. If she walks away now, the trail goes cold, but surely she cannot accept such a vile proposition. How can she answer this filth who completely ignores her marriage vows? She doesn't have to. Scar moves faster than light, his hand clamping around Doji's throat. He warns the fool to choose his next words wisely, but the pervert is too arrogant to listen. Even while choking, he keeps pitching his disgusting offer as if he holds the cards. Scar realizes this man is nothing but a fraud who scams the desperate. With just a little more pressure, he could pop Doji out of existence like a bubble. The world would certainly be better off without him. However, for Lucy's sake, Scar suppresses his bloodlust and spares the creep. As they storm away, Doji catches a glimpse of something under the cloak, a dragon's tail. A sinister grin splits his face. He has been hunting for the dragon, and now fate has handed him the beast's weakness on a silver platter. Lucy, seething with annoyance, Scar marches through the market, gripped tight on Lucy while she frantically tries to explain she never intended to accept the deal. She only wanted to hear him out, but Scar cuts her off. His aura explodes with rage. I will not tolerate trash like that. Terrified by his sudden ferocity, Lucy goes silent and agrees, and they return to the mansion in a heavy silence. Back in safety, the reality sinks in. She recalls his terrifying gaze in the market, the sheer power that made the air tremble. There is no doubt now, he is definitely a dragon. What was she thinking? Trying to interfere in a monster's life? Shame washes over her. She decides the only path forward is to become invisible, a perfect, silent maid who never troubles her master again. Weeks bleed by. Scar notices the cold wall she has built between them, and secretly, his heart aches for her company. But perhaps this is for the best. Now that she keeps to herself, the master remains calm and the house is peaceful. She only ever wanted to be helpful, but she vows to never again ignore his hatred for humanity. Lucy notices Scar's surprisingly patient with her silence. Suddenly, she remembers her duty to read to him and stands up. Is it a good idea to approach him before she can decide? The room tilts. Her vision swims in waves of nausea. Her body burns as if on fire. Did the master use magic on me? She wonders, before darkness claims her and she collapses on the study floor. Unaware of the emergency, Scar sits alone in his chambers, brooding over the drastic change in Lucy's behavior. He fears his outburst at the market shattered their bond. He blames himself for losing his temper. But who could blame him? He was furious at Doji, seeing right through the sorcerer's greed. The way that man looked at Lucy, it was never about the money. Doji is nothing but trash to be discarded. Information can be forced from any human, but Lucy, she is one of a kind. As the silence stretches on, the dragon realizes he is longing for her more than he ever expected. Panic sets in. He fears she might be thinking about quitting. She is the only human who stayed, even after witnessing his rampage before she collapsed. She once marveled at his patience. Now, he sits alone, agonizing over the patience she has shown toward him. A terrifying thought grips him. She is packing her bags right now. He refuses to sit idly by and let such a precious treasure walk out of his life. He bursts from his room, storming down the hallway. He plans on apologizing and perhaps offering a desperate explanation. He will do anything to ease her fear. But first, the hunt begins. He must find her. And it is not easy. The mansion's silence is deafening. It hasn't been this quiet in ages. After scouring every corner, a cold dread settles in. Is he too late? Did she flee? The thought hammers in his mind, especially because her room is empty, yet her luggage remains. To him, abandoning her belongings signals a silent, desperate escape, a final act of politeness he feels he does not deserve. Others pilfered his treasures on their way out, but she took nothing, and that innocence only deepens his regret. Rage blazes in his eyes, his fists clenching tight. He never even got the chance to explain the incident at the market to her. Staring at her quarters, the reality hits him. It is a dungeon compared to the rest of the estate. No wonder she left. Convinced she saw him as a tyrant, he frantically begins tidying the room. He never cared before, but now he curses the architects who built this prison. They gave him this fortress to guard the border against invasions, yet treated the servants' quarters with such disdain. A wave of guilt crashes over the once grumpy dragon as a terrifying realization strikes. He fears his best servant is already halfway to the village, and he cannot chase her, lest he terrify her further. Defeat weighs heavy on his shoulders. Accepting he may never see her face again, he finds one small solace. She picked out books for him. He heads to the study to honor her memory, even if deciphering them takes an eternity. But upon entering, his heart stops. He finds Lucy lying on the floor, and a rush of shock and relief overwhelms him. She didn't abandon him, but something is wrong. Her breath comes in ragged gasps as she apologizes, whispering of dizziness. Desperate to prove she is fine, she attempts to crawl toward the hallway, seeking the coolness of the stone floor. He will not allow that. Gently, he scoops her up and places her in her bed. However, she doesn't recognize the room because of his renovations. As her condition deteriorates, Scar's composure cracks. He is panicking. He is a dragon, an invincible being who has never known sickness. He knows nothing of human frailty. His mind races at 1,000 miles per hour. Do we even have medicine in this fortress? What plague is this? Too many questions, and the only cure he has ever known is licking his own wounds. Desperate times call for desperate measures. He apologizes and kisses her. Warning, this is strictly a medical procedure. Scar is a noble dragon. As his healing magic flows, she is swept away into a peaceful dream, likening the sensation to paradise. She decides to surrender to the rest, not caring if this is a dream or reality. She feels the kiss, the dragon's elixir flowing into her. It is so tranquil until the liquid slides down her throat, jolting her awake. The fever burning in her head begins to recede. She looks at his face, bewildered. Was that intimacy a hallucination, or a touch of reality? Now that she is awake, a million questions rise, but the softness of the bed swallows them whole. If this comfort is real, then perhaps everything else was too. He sees the realization in her eyes. He quickly explains, claiming he only missed her presence because he needed to save her. There were no supplies at home, and she would have perished before he could return with the doctor. Scar apologizes profusely for the kiss. He acknowledges she is a married woman, but duty demanded he save her life. As for her duties, she is done for the day. He commands her to rest. The moment he leaves, Lucy buries her face in the blankets, burning with shame. It was just a medical procedure, she tells herself. Her master despises humans, yet he cured her, surely. It is only because she is a valuable employee. Scar tells himself the same lie. He is equally tormented. scolding himself for letting his instincts take over for even a second. He is terrified. If she rejects his explanation, she will see him as a pervert, and he cannot bear that thought. But beneath the shame, he is unsettled. The dragon who cared for nothing suddenly cares too much. Why? This woman has changed his entire world since her arrival. His mind is a chaotic storm, so he decides to nap to escape the confusion. But sleep offers no sanctuary. He is instantly plunged into the darkness of his usual nightmare. Only this time, the monster is gone. Instead, it is Lucy in a passionate embrace with an unknown man dream. Lucy mocks his foolish heart. The nightmare strikes a nerve deep within him. He might pretend otherwise, but the seeds of jealousy have been sown. Instead of hostility, a thick, suffocating awkwardness settles over the castle. Every accidental brush of their fingertips sends a jolt through her. Her mind keeps replaying that kiss, forcing her to chant an internal mantra. It was just medical treatment, nothing more. Scar looks composed on the surface, but guilt flickers in his eyes. Suddenly, he breaks the silence, asking permission to ask her a personal question. Lucy agrees, expecting a query about her duties. Instead, he drops a bombshell that leaves her stunned. He wants to know what her husband is like. Panic surges. She could confess right now, or keep the charade going. Lucy makes her choice instantly. She will double down on the lie. She is terrified. He is connecting the dots back to that accidental kiss and digging for a reason to distance himself. To ease his guilt, she needs to paint the perfect picture of marital bliss, but under pressure, her creative writing skills fail her. She simply stammers that her husband is kind. That dry response does not sit well with the Duke. His expression remains flat, clearly unimpressed by this generic description. Sensing his skepticism, Lucy realizes she needs to add some dramatic flair to her backstory immediately. But Scar presses on, interrogating her like a detective. What is his job? Why is his wife working here? And why has she not spoken of visiting him once? Cornered, Lucy somehow keeps her cool. She spins a tale that her husband is currently away at an elite boot camp for butlers. She claims he is chasing a promotion, and they had made a solemn vow to spend 1 year apart for the sake of their future. To sell the lie, she flashes her ring, rambling about their dream to save money and buy a lovely house together. She feigns longing, whispering that she misses him dearly and has no idea how he's faring right now. Miraculously, her chaotic storytelling works. Scar actually believes it, apologizing for prying into her personal affairs. From that moment on, the topic of her husband is forbidden. Lucy can only hope this fabricated closure is enough. Even if doubts linger, their daily routine stabilizes. The reading sessions become their sanctuary, navigating through complex and archaic literature together. When they finally reach the tome on dragon ecology, she offers him the choice. Which secret of his own kind does he wish to uncover first? His gaze intensifies. As a half-blood, his greatest question is one of existence. Could someone like him truly coexist with other species? He needs to understand his own origin. This curiosity leads them straight to the most awkward chapter of all reproduction. As Lucy reads aloud, she realizes the author is a complete fraud. However, she stumbles upon a key term: polymorph. The text claims dragons need this ability to breed with other species, though it explicitly states that mating itself is possible without it. The atmosphere in the room grows heavy. Scar shifts uncomfortably, his ears burning, and demands she skip this embarrassing section. Lucy obliges, but not before cheerfully noting that according to the lore, his closest biological match is actually humans. With the awkwardness managed, they resume, but they are unaware of a pair of eyes watching from the shadows. A suspicious bat hangs by the window. Scar's instincts flare. He senses the intruder instantly. The spy takes flight, retreating to its master, the sinister mage Doji. Back in his lair, Doji waits with bated breath. What dark plans is this creep concocting now? Days melt into a peaceful rhythm. Scar even installs a luxurious new bath for her. Lucy worries she's becoming too accustomed to this pampering. If this keeps up, walking away after her 1-year contract ends will be agonizing. The wall between master and servant is crumbling. She finds herself smiling as she recalls how flushed he got during the reproduction discussion. She had learned a vital piece of lore that day. It was about the overwhelming potency of dragon blood compared to saliva. But more than the facts, It was his adorable, shy reaction that stayed with her. He is dangerously cute, but he is also in constant pain. That thought darkens her mood, leading her mind back to Doji, that perverted mage. He had demanded a night with her. It is repulsive, but she resolves to visit him again. She has to know the truth behind Scar's cursed tattoos. If he holds the answers, she will pay the price, but she plans to counteroffer with a simple date, rather than giving him her body. A sudden movement in her peripheral vision snaps her back to reality. Something has just flown past. She thinks her eyes deceived her, but a presence looms behind her. Before she can scream, the scent of herbs fills her nose. It is an abduction, and Scar is completely unaware. Oblivious to the danger, the Duke sits peacefully with his book. Usually, the curse would have knocked him out by now, but Lucy's special tea keeps the darkness at bay. For the first time in forever, his storm-tossed soul feels anchored. He hasn't known such peace in years. Yet, a subtle tension lingers between them, born from her overly proper demeanor. He can tell the memory of the kiss haunts her. Her shame is palpable, yet sweet, just like the tea she brews for him. There is no bitterness in her care. Unlike the servants of the past, it is a tragedy that her contract is so temporary. He broods in his chair, convinced her desire to leave is tied to that husband of hers, a husband that doesn't even exist. Jealousy claws at his chest. He imagines the man must be a dashing gentleman, the type all the ladies swoon over, but his eyes narrow. What kind of gentleman sends his beloved wife to work in a cursed, lonely castle? A curse escapes his lips at the sudden sound of a knock. It is late, and Lucy should be deep in slumber, which means only one thing: an emergency has struck. But when he throws the door open, reality seems to warp. She stands there, dripping wet and half-dressed, forcing him to question if he has drifted into a fever dream. This must be a hallucination. The Lucy he knows, the woman of such propriety, would never present herself like this. Yet, the illusion refuses to fade. She steps into the room, closing the distance between them, her voice trembling as she demands he hold her through the night. Have the medicinal herbs clouded her mind as she presses closer, invading his personal space? His logic screams that this moment cannot be real. The real Lucy would never stand so boldly before a man she does not love. Desperate for an explanation, he convinces himself. This is a dream. A cruel, beautiful dream. Her soft permission shatters his last defense. The restraint he has built like a fortress crumbles. He leans in, capturing her lips, letting buried desires flood to the surface freely. Memories flash in his mind. Days ago, during a medical procedure, his iron will had cracked for just a second. He had meant to pull away quickly then, but the kiss had lingered, a stolen moment that left a bitter aftertaste of guilt. Now, with no resistance from her, he casts hesitation aside. He surrenders to the impulse completely. He treats this moment like a nightmare that will demand a heavy toll come morning, but it is a risk he accepts without a shred of regret. All he craves is his fragile sweetness, however fleeting. But as the intimacy deepens, Lucy suddenly sways, a wave of dizziness washing over her. Through the haze, she asks for a measure of his blood. Shaw agrees instantly, without a second thought. To give it willingly is freedom. To have it taken is defeat. He offers himself to her, and she accepts the gift without fear. His mind drifts to the ancient book he once studied. It spoke of dragon's blood, a miraculous cure capable of extending life far beyond nature's limit. But magic always requires a balance. The dragon pays the price, losing a fragment of their own eternal lifespan with every drop given. Shaw accepts this fate with open eyes. If burning his own life force allows Lucy to smile for even a moment longer, the cost is nothing. But when she whispers words of love, the weight of them unsettles him. Unsure of how to handle the emotion, he becomes awkward. He moves with the fumbling innocence of someone discovering closeness for the first time. Yet, despite the uncertainty, he remains. He lets the intimacy unfold, not with confidence, but with a gentle, trembling tenderness. When the storm passes, he whispers, asking if she's all right. She assures him she is fine. He admits the truth. He was terrified his monstrous strength might have hurt her. She laughs, calling the concern rude and the timing terrible. It is far from romantic, she teases, before quickly clarifying she is only joking. Still, he sits up, a knot of unease tightening in his chest. This sweet nightmare has lasted far longer than he expected. How will it end this time? Will the vision of her husband crash through the door, shattering the fantasy? She looks at him, confused by his sudden tension, but before she can speak, the illusion breaks. Doji materializes before her. His voice drips with malice. Since she willingly shared everything with him, he has a command for her. Go to your master. Embrace him. Demand his blood. The order sinks in. Even as her body obeys, her mind screams, wondering why she's listening to this monster. He sneers, asking if she enjoyed her time. In an instant, the warmth vanishes. Lucy transforms. Her body shrinks, hardening into a lifeless doll. Scar gasps in shock, reaching out, but a bat swoops down, snatching the effigy away. Who are you? Scar roars. The creature replies with mocking calm, claiming it just gifted him a night of passion with his beloved. Scar bristles, his aura flaring. The disrespect in the creature's tone is unforgivable. The bat drops the bombshell. The woman he held, the lips he kissed, it was never Lucy, just a magical doll. A chill runs down his spine. He guesses the voice belongs to that suspicious pig. The bat corrects him with a sneer. It is Doji. He adds a dark warning. Scar would already be burning in hell if his blood was not so incredibly valuable. Rage explodes in Scar's chest. He demands the truth. Did you touch her? If Doji laid a hand on the real Lucy, he will tear him limb from limb. Doji laughs off the threat. He states the obvious. Scar has fallen for the maid. Silence hangs heavy in the air. Scar tries to deny it, but Doji cuts deep. Over 100 maids were sent to him, all rejected, all hated. But Lucy, she was accepted in a heartbeat. You have excellent taste, the bat mocks, circling above. Scar stammers a defense, but Doji silences him. The games are over. He proposes a deal. He intends to make a fortune selling Scar's blood. If Scar agrees to the trade, Lucy will be his, whenever he desires. If he accepts, the doll will become Lucy. A dose of truth serum will cloud her mind, making their nights together feel like nothing more than a hazy dream to her. Fury boils in Scar's veins as the bat issues final instructions. Leave the door unlocked if you agree. With a roar of frustration, Scar unleashes a blast of fire, but the bat weaves through the flames, escaping into the night unscathed. Moments later, he rushes to Lucy's side, and his heart stops. Her body is ice cold. A wave of crushing regret hits him for not realizing her condition sooner. He lifts her as if she were made of fragile glass and carries her to the bed, gently towel drying her shivering form. Seeing the sheets are soaked, he immediately moves to fetch fresh, warm iron bedding. The doe's twisted proposition echoes in his mind, and he recoils. It is sheer madness. The creature essentially demands he force Lucy into a dreamscape, an illusion of intimacy she never asked for and clearly does not want. The very thought is repulsive. He cannot bear the idea of her enduring such violation. But as the first light of dawn bleeds into the room, Lucy begins to stir. Scar quickly explains he had to remove her towel to dry her by the fire, his voice urgent as he assures her that nothing inappropriate occurred while she slept. He turns to fetch her clothes, but Lucy freezes, her eyes wide with shock. The memories of a vivid, shameful dream come crashing back to her. Humiliation floods her veins, made worse by the realization that her master has now seen the bare skin she has guarded from everyone else. An overwhelming cocktail of vulnerability and shame leaves her spinning as the harsh morning light exposes every corner of the room. Later, as she attempts to focus on her chores, his lingering presence distracts her, causing her to lose her footing and stumble hard. She feels a lingering, heavy unease from the night's fever dream, whispering quiet apologies to herself to steady her nerves. Never in her life has she imagined such a relationship. Though her master is undeniably handsome, she has never dared to view him as a lover. Yet, she cannot lie to her own heart. The strange, incomparable joy she felt when she embraced him in that dream was terrifyingly real. She refuses to call it love. She reminds herself that this man despises humans. If these forbidden thoughts are exposed, she could be cast down among the senior maids. Still, fighting the magnetic pull toward him feels like a losing battle. Once accustomed to his imposing shadow, one notices his surprising kindness, a stark contrast to the terrifying legends and the cursed tattoos that mark his skin. She cannot name the emotions blooming in her chest, but she resolves to bury them deep, especially the guilty pleasure she took in that dream. After finishing her cleaning, she goes to check on him. Realizing he has skipped every meal, a cold knot of concern tightens in her stomach. Finding the door unlocked, she peeks inside and gasps. He is slumped over, looking utterly pitiful and broken. She rushes to his side, screaming his name, but he does not stir. Terror gnaws at her. Is he trapped in a nightmare born from his curse? She frantically calculates the date. The full moon is still far off. That is usually when his mental walls crumble and the nightmares strike with lethal force. She realizes this isn't the moon's doing. His defenses are shattered, likely a consequence of the magic used the previous night. His warning echoes in her memory: never, under any circumstances, enter his dreams. She fetches cool water and a cloth, wiping his fevered brow. She sits on the floor, keeping a vigil. 1 day passes, then 2. By day 3, true fear creeps in. What if he never wakes up? Desperation overrides her anxiety, and she climbs onto the bed, lying beside him and clasping his hand tight. Exhaustion finally claims her, and she slips into the void, dreaming of herself standing before a towering, familiar mansion. The mansion feels impossibly solid, blurring the fragile line between dream and reality. She wonders if her master is trapped inside as a child, and a surge of fierce determination rises within her. She vows to confront the monster holding him and rescue them both, just as she has done in the past. Her search begins in earnest, tearing through room after room, yet the house feels empty. His presence is nowhere to be found. The only place left is her own bedroom. It seems unlikely, but she has to check. Suddenly, a noise from within catches her attention. Her heart squeezes with dread. What could that man possibly be doing with Scar inside her room? Peeking through the crack, she freezes, paralyzed by shock. Scar is passionately kissing a woman who looks exactly like her. Disbelief washes over her like ice water. The doppelganger protests, begging him to let her go, while he whispers Lucy's name with obsessive devotion. Confusion spirals into panic. Why is he doing this? He produces her ring, and when the dream, Lucy tries to take it. He incinerates it in a burst of magic before she can touch it. Tears spill down the woman's face. She screams, demanding to know why he's pushing her this far. He speaks as if confirming she knows nothing, then guides her onto the bed, his fingers grazing her lips possessively. She resists, her voice trembling, crying out that she hates men who force themselves on women. But his resolve is ironclad. He does not stop. He reveals the dark truth plainly. His feelings for her run so deep, so dangerously, that he never wants to let her go. Meanwhile, the real Lucy watches from the doorway, hand over her mouth. She nudges the door, and Scar's intense gaze snaps to her. Panic grips her throat, and she bolts, desperate to escape the scene she cannot comprehend. In an instant, she gasps awake in the real world, finding herself face to face with Scar, who is still unconscious, or so she thinks. She resolves to flee, hoping to pretend this never happened, but his hand shoots out to stop her. His voice is raspy. How much did you see? Trembling, she admits she saw him holding a woman, quickly explaining she looked away to respect his privacy. He presses her, eyes searching hers. She lies, fabricating that she didn't see the woman's face clearly because it was too far away. She nervously wonders aloud if it was a lover from his past. Scar meets her gaze with a serious, unreadable expression before turning his back and walking away cold. Regret fills her soul as she calls out an apology, explaining she only entered his dream because she was terrified he would never wake up. She bows her head, willing to accept whatever penalty fate deals her. But Scar's voice is cold as steel. He reminds her of the one unforgivable sin invading his dreams without permission. Desperately, she protests that she never meant to cross that line, yet he shuts her down instantly. Intentions mean nothing when the damage is already done. The verdict is final, and the gavel has dropped. He commands her to pack her bags this very instant. She is leaving. By the ruthless terms of their contract, she should leave destitute, without a single penny. Yet, in a twist of mercy, he grants her full wages and arranges a private carriage to whisk her away. She pauses, stunned by this unexpected gentleness beneath his icy exterior. How foolish to think she could break the rules and simply be forgiven. Yet, her mind drifts back to that forbidden dream, echoing with his confession that he actually liked her. Was it just a hallucination? Surely. This harsh banishment proves that those sweet words were never real. Guilt gnaws at her. She knows her presence only twisted the knife deeper for him. Scar's nightmares aren't just bad dreams, they are visions of absolute hell. Perhaps he sees himself tormenting the weak, or morphing into the very monster he despises. Regardless of the horror, she shoulders the blame entirely. Their physical proximity had become a dangerous spark, making them too aware of each other to function. Accepting her fate, She steps into the carriage and leaves her heart behind. Suddenly, a familiar voice cuts through the air. The mage from the market appears, questioning why she wanders alone at such a dark hour. Her eyes widen in genuine shock at this chance encounter. He stares, unable to reconcile the shabby servant he met before with the refined lady standing before him now. She confesses her earlier deception, introducing herself properly as Lucy. She explains she has left her maid position, then turns the tables. What is he doing here? He admits he has business, but claims her safety is far more urgent with a charming smile. He insists he cannot let a beauty travel unprotected. The road to the border town of Horsetail is long. A full 2-hour journey awaits them. A scheme forms in her mind. If she plays along and keeps him talking, she might uncover the secret behind her master's mysterious tattoo. Even though she has been fired, her loyalty lingers. She agrees to share the carriage, hunting for answers. As they ride, the mage apologizes for his previous rudeness, blaming the alcohol. Lucy finds this amusing. He doesn't smell like a drop of liquor, but she graciously accepts the excuse. Curiosity gets the better of her, and she asks the burning question, how did he even locate the hidden mansion? He reveals he knew the master was a dragon all along. He adds darkly that most servants flee within a week, asking if she suffered the same fate. She laughs it off, proudly declaring she survived a whole month, and honestly, her termination was entirely her own doing. Impressed by her grit, he drops a sudden offer. His own household is desperate for a maid of her caliber. His wife is at her wit's end with incompetent help for Lucy. They would be willing to pay triple the standard wage. Lucy internally scoffs. Who in their right mind would serve a mage capable of cursing people into oblivion? Outwardly, she offers polite comfort, telling him to trust in fate. The perfect servant will appear when the time is right. He shoots her a sharp, sidelong glance. He questions her true motives for being at the dragon's lair, suggesting she should have run away from the start. He adds a cryptic remark. He was originally supposed to purchase information from her. She wonders if this concerns the tattoo again. Considering the dragon's immense wealth, he definitely should have raised his price. He claims a sudden moral high ground. As a mage, he has a code and won't betray a comrade. Curses are simply karma coming back to haunt the guilty. Lucy frowns at this twisted logic. It's rich coming from a man who seemed ready to sell secrets to the highest bidder just moments ago. As she steps out of the carriage, he presses a card into her hand. The offer stands if she ever changes her mind. A place is waiting for her. She stares at the card, thinking only a lunatic would willingly walk into such a shady establishment. But then, thoughts of her master flood back. Heartbroken, she decides she no longer cares. Let whatever happens, happen. Suddenly, Scar appears at her window. His eyes are sharp with panic as he demands to know if she has completely lost her mind. She retorts coolly, the mage's pay might not match Scar's fortune, but it is certainly enough to make her consider the offer. He cuts her off, voice rising. How could she even think of going to that mage after the danger she faced in the back alley? He begs for just one more chance, swearing he will be careful and never touch her again. But she stands firm. She's a human being, not a dog to come running whenever he whistles. She is finished with living on the edge, terrified of being fired on a whim. She needs stability, not his volatile temper. He strikes back with logic, reminding her that she was the one who shattered their contract, even after signing a solemn pledge. She nods, accepting the blame with grace. She wishes him the best in finding a better replacement, and bids him a final, painful farewell. Defeated, he vanishes into the night, leaving her to collapse onto her bed. But when the sun rises, she stands resolved at the gates of the mage's estate. The house is surprisingly welcoming, far better than her fears. Seeing a swing set in the garden, she wonders if a family with children lives here. Anxiety prickles her skin, but she steels herself. She has nothing left to lose, and she can always flee if danger strikes. Suddenly, the door swings open, and the mage beams with excitement. She offers a polite greeting. He eagerly ushers her inside, declaring that his wife will be absolutely thrilled to meet her. Stepping inside, Lucy finally comes face to face with the mage's wife and her 3 spirited children. Struck by their uncanny resemblance, the woman clutches Lucy's hands in gratitude, confessing that managing this chaotic brood has been a nightmare and no suitable help ever arrived until now. She beckons Lucy to follow, guiding her up the stairs to a secluded room tucked away in the attic on the 2nd floor. Though she apologizes profusely for the clutter, explaining the family once used this space, Lucy beams with a genuine smile, remarking on how wonderfully spacious her new sanctuary is. But there is no time to rest. The woman urges her to change immediately and descend, for the household is drowning in work and short on hands. Lucy nods with determination, eager to prove her worth. And just like that, a brand new chapter of her life silently begins. As she throws herself into the chores, one strict warning rings in her ears: stay far away from the magic circle, a rule she carves into her memory. She suspects this caution exists because the household is desperate. They know how hard it would be to replace a diligent maid if she were to vanish in an accident. Yet, despite the eerie quirks of a mage's residence, the working conditions at Mage Dew's estate are shockingly comfortable. Meals are communal and hearty. Hot water flows freely every day. And her bed offers the same cloud-like softness she was used to before. Most crucial of all, her employer Doji is respectful. He makes no unwanted advances. She suspects his drunken behavior at their first meeting was a fluke, though she still doesn't trust his character completely. The wife's words echo in her mind, something about a recent massive deal ensuring fair pay, followed by a desperate plea for Lucy to stay with them for the long haul. The children's constant demands to play become a welcome distraction, keeping her hands busy and preventing her wandering mind from spiraling into darkness. A sudden, sharp memory of Scar pierces her thoughts, but she ruthlessly shakes it off, forcing herself to believe that this place is where she belongs. She realizes her obsession with him stems from the shame of their parting. Leaving on bad terms has made the embarrassment linger far longer than it should. Still, worry gnaws at her heart as she recalls the days Scar was paralyzed by nightmares, and she finds herself praying that he has found a competent maid to care for him. Her thoughts take a detour to the unfinished, trivial business of his laundry, specifically his underwear. Remembering how he loathes maids touching his personal garments and simply incinerates them with magic, she imagines a mountain of men's undergarments piling up in storage. She scoffs at herself for worrying about such things, reassuring her heart that he has surely hired someone new and is likely getting along perfectly fine without her. Taking a breath, she reminds herself that her master is no longer the dragon, but the portly man currently sleeping downstairs, and she resolves to sever the past, convinced that she and Scar will never cross paths again. However, glancing out the window, her eyes catch a tall, lean silhouette, likely the new master burning the midnight oil with his magecraft. She collapses onto her bed, whispering that it has nothing to do with her. Meanwhile, a familiar bat materializes in the dark, thanking someone for the long journey. Scar's eyes burn with a terrifying glare, but the bat continues its report, noting how arduous the travel has been. Scar cuts him off with a growl, demanding Lucy's location. The bat replies that she is thriving, adding that Scar would be shocked to see how well she is being treated. The creature adds a stinging remark: if she were truly precious, Scar would have kept her close, yet he sent her away under the guise of safety. Scar waves off the creature's prattle, his patience wearing thin as he demands to know why he was summoned here. The mage's demand is simple yet audacious. He craves wealth and power, and to keep Lucy safe, Scar must submit and allow him to draw his dragon blood. Scar scoffs, asking if the mage has found a rich buyer, mocking the man's futile tactics of using a hostage to force his hand. But the mage counters smoothly, pointing out that he has watched Lucy, and she seems genuinely happy in her new life. He poses a cruel question: who would she trust, the former master who cast her out, or the current one who treats her like family? He warns that overstepping could turn her trust into eternal hatred. In Doji's twisted theater of life, he begins to monologue about his success. With a dark chuckle, he admits his secret is mere diligence. For years, he has relentlessly schemed to obtain and sell the legendary dragon blood. He reveals the depths of his obsession, explaining how he planted a useless maid to spy, bribed countless others who were desperate for work, and even struck a deal with an agency worker to split the profits of his schemes. Yet, the dragon was impossibly fastidious about the women around him, causing Doji to suffer loss after agonizing loss. He barely survived, scraping by with odd jobs in the back alleys, looking back on those days now as a fond memory of his struggle. But destiny eventually smiled upon him. When asked how he reversed his fortunes, he laughs maniacally, calling it the gamble of a lifetime. He sowed rumors in the black market about possessing dragon blood, securing a massive advance payment from a gullible buyer. With that fortune, he purchased an exorbitant magical artifact, a clay doll capable of assuming human form once fed with blood. To complete the unholy ritual, he trapped a human soul inside the vessel to achieve his ultimate ambition. When pressed about his goals beyond this madness, He confesses that a man of status is always adored. More than gold, he burns with the desire to become a royal court mage, securing a life of luxury forever. And the foundation for that dark future is already set. As the morning sun rises, oblivious to the danger, Lucy sits by the swing, pushing one of the mage's children. The child hops down, thanking her cheerfully before running off to the kitchen for snacks, leaving Lucy alone in the calm before the storm, left in the quiet. Lucy marvels that a whole month has already drifted by since she arrived. The laughter of lively children has become a balm for her soul, washing away her old worries. In the past, the relentless struggle just to survive consumed her completely. She never had the luxury to even dream of starting a family of her own. But now, surrounded by warmth, she thinks a domestic life might not be a curse after all. Memories surface of her mother, tearfully apologizing for the day her father abandoned them. For the moment, hope blooms within her chest. Everything will be fine, as long as her future marriage escapes the miserable fate that befell her parents. She resolves to open her heart to the possibility of a good partner. Yet, unbidden and without warning, her thoughts drift instantly to Scar. She questions her own mind. Why him? He is a man who solves problems with brute force rather than communication, far too immature to be a true life partner. She shakes her head, internally scolding herself for passing judgment so harsh and so quickly. Suddenly, a child approaches with a gift. He claims it is wild strawberry juice from the market. Lucy notes that strawberries are out of season, but thanks him with a smile. The boy insists she drink every drop, guilt-tripping her with the trouble he went through. Reluctantly, she agrees to savor it after her work is done. Later that night, she awakens into a void of suffocating darkness, completely disoriented and unsure of her location. The memory of the strawberry juice flashes in her mind. A terrifying sensation takes hold as her body feels heavy, utterly disconnected from her consciousness. Recognizing this paralysis from past traumas, she concludes that this must be a nightmare. A bat materializes from the shadows, whispering that she is in a state where she will perish without a man's embrace. The creature hisses at her. The voice of Doji echoes in her mind, an absolute command she cannot refuse. Like a puppet on strings, she readies herself to obey the Dark Order. Suddenly, Scar materializes before her eyes. The command tightens its grip. She must hold him close and drink the very lifeblood from his veins. She leans in, lips parting for the strike, but Scar violently tears her away. His eyes blaze with fury as he roars at the swine, forbidding him from ever corrupting Lucy. The bat hisses back, sharp and venomous. He mocks Scar for his incompetence, citing a litany of complaints from their dissatisfied clientele. He scolds Scar's defiance, reminding him that patrons pay a fortune for discretion. In this twisted game, sticking to the script is mandatory. Scar spits back, asking why he should care about their dirty dealings, but the bat begins to unravel the true motive behind the madness. He issues a chilling ultimatum. If Scar refuses to cooperate, he will be stuck with a lifeless doll instead. Scar scoffs at the absurdity, his resolve ironclad. He demands Lucy's immediate release, swearing he will never bow to such depravity. But the bat smirks, warning him against arrogance. Lucy's physical form lies helpless in his mansion. Does Scar truly dare to gamble with her life? A heavy silence falls over Scar. The bat cackles with glee, realizing the delicious truth. Scar cares for her far more than he dares to admit. He twists the knife deeper, revealing that Lucy believes this is a sweet dream she never wants to end. Why does Scar fight the pleasure? Desperate, Scar grinds out a counteroffer. Bring anyone else, any other victim, just not her. Hurt flashes across Lucy's face. Does he find her lacking? Scar panics, quickly clarifying that his rejection stems from protection, not disgust. The bat leers at her beauty, but declares his patience at an end. As he moves to intervene, Scar explodes, screaming for the creature to stay the hell away from her. Madge's eyes lock onto the ring adorning her finger, a sneer curling his lip. He snaps at Scar, demanding he finish this charade immediately. Scar whispers a pained apology, leaving Lucy confused and aching for his touch. Then, the mage's voice booms like thunder, commanding her once more to embrace him. She freezes. The memory of Scar's refusal acts as a shield against the order. He doesn't want this. Turning her back on the scene, she strides toward the window and flings it open. With a liberated smile, she steps onto the ledge, realizing this is the escape she craved. Doji watches in stunned disbelief as she defies his absolute control as she falls. Lucy knows a drastic shock is the only way to shatter this illusion. Her eyes snap open in the real world, but horror replaces relief. Doji is looming right over her, hands hovering in a deeply suspicious manner. Caught red-handed, he stammers, frantically waving his hands to plead his innocence. He claims he was merely a gentleman since she was sleeping in the cold. He was just trying to button her shirt. Pure rage explodes within her. Her palm cracks against his face with a sharp echo. She shoves him back, unleashing a storm of insults. "I quit," she screams. "I am leaving this wretched place right now." But Doi remains unmoved, his expression darkening. "Where exactly do you think you are going?" His voice drops to a chilling low. "Did I give you permission to leave?" "Get out of my way," she commands, trying to push past him. But he blocks her path like an iron wall. "You and that dragon. You are my precious treasures," he declares obsessively, "and I never let thieves walk away with what belongs to me." Fury blinds her. She grabs the nearest object and hurls it at him, shattering the silence. She needs to make a scene loud enough to wake his wife and children upstairs and expose him. "Let them see what you really are," she challenges, hoping to break his composure. But instead of fear, a twisted, maniacal laugh escapes his lips. "Do you really think I care about that?" "There is no one else here," he says coldly. Her blood runs cold, eyebrows shooting up in pure disbelief. But she had seen them. She had been talking to his wife and kids this entire time. Doji smirks, his face contorting with sinister delight. The happy family, the noise upstairs. He leans in close. "It was all an illusion, a lie I created. I struck a pact with the demon for the power of deceit," he reveals, eyes glowing with dark magic. "Did you truly think this house was safe? I was the puppeteer, playing the role of every family member you met." He looms over her, the shadows in the room seemingly growing longer. "If I can create such perfect dreams," he taunts, his voice dripping with malice, "do you think my power stops there?" "I showed you what you desired," he whispers, evoking a primal fear. "Now, imagine the horrors I can conjure, the nightmares you beg not to see. Shall I give you a demonstration?" With a sharp snap of his fingers, a photograph materializes. It is Scar. Doji smirks, revealing a twisted truth. He didn't just know about the cursed seal, he designed it, selling the masterpiece for a king's ransom. Blind rage explodes within her. In a blur of motion, she tackles the mage, fingers digging into his throat. Her voice trembles with fury. "Tell me how to break the curse, or else..." But the mage merely wheezes a laugh. Even with death staring him in the face, greed rules his heart. He refuses to spill a single secret without payment. Desperate, she bargains. "You want gold? The one seeking freedom has more wealth than a rat like you could spend in 10 lifetimes. Just name your price." Doji's eyes darken with lust, chilling the very air. "I have no need for coin," he sneers coldly. "The price I demand is your body." He shoves her back with unnatural force, pulling out a strange artifact. He gloats. "You stepped into my web, little fly. Now that I have you, I will make sure to enjoy every moment." Meanwhile, miles away, a shadow tears through the sky. Someone is coming, and they are moving with the speed of a demon. Back in the attic, panic sets in. Lucy scans the room frantically. Trapped, the only way down is a narrow ladder leading straight to hell. But the path is blocked. Doji stands there, a sinister grin on his face and a needle glinting in his hand. She doesn't know what poison lies inside, but her instincts scream one warning: if that needle pierces her skin, her life as she knows it is over. A cold realization settles in her heart. Being reduced to this monster's toy, no. She would choose the sweet release of death 1,000 times over. Doji steps closer. Lucy spins toward the window. The drop is high, but the open sky looks like freedom compared to his touch. "So brave," Doji mocks, watching her poise on the ledge. Then he whispers a secret that strikes her like a physical blow. "Your beloved master," he purrs. Imagine his face right now, the sheer horror paralyzing him. Lucy freezes. What is he talking about? Doji paints a gruesome picture, Scar. Watching the woman he loves leap to her doom, shattering against the pavement, shattering against... "You thought it was a nightmare." Doji laughs cruelly. "Wake up, darling. That was reality." The world spins. Her mind fractures under the weight of the truth. Denial rages inside her. Why would Scar submit? Why would the strongest man she knows bow to a worm like Doji? It simply doesn't make sense. No time to think. Doji lunges. Pure survival instinct takes over. Lucy closes her eyes and throws herself into the empty void. Wind roars in her ears. As she plummets, one final thought clings to her mind. He is lying. It has to be a lie. The ground rushes up to meet her, but she never hits it. Strong, unyielding arms snatch her from the jaws of death. Scar holds her tight, his expression fierce. I will never let you fall again, Lucy gasps, clinging to him as reality finally anchors her. Tears burst forth like a dam breaking. I am so sorry, she sobs, burying her face in his chest. I didn't know I caused you so much pain. Scar's voice is a calm harbor in the storm. Hush now. My choices were my own. You bear no sin for my actions. Lucy trembles, but he pulls her closer. I felt a disturbance, he murmurs. My soul screamed that you were in danger, so I tore through the skies to find you. His eyes scan her frantically. Seeing you fall, it nearly stopped my heart. He checks her for injuries, his hands trembling slightly. Are you hurt? She shakes her head, wiping away tears. Just messy clothes. She manages a weak smile. I am okay, really. Relief washes over him, instantly replaced by a glacial fury. Murderous intent floods his gaze. He should drag that mage to the ends of the earth and erase his existence. But fate intervenes. A loud crash echoes nearby as Doji hits the dirt, his escape thwarted. We have him, Lucy cries out, pointing. Scar, listen, he confessed. He is the architect of the curse carved into your skin. From the dust, a maniacal cackle rises. Doji isn't begging for mercy. He is laughing like a man who knows a joke no one else understands. The laughter triggers something. Scar's eyes narrow. The pieces of the puzzle snap into place. A terrifying realization dawns on him. Stay here, he commands, his voice sharp as steel. Give me 3 minutes. Before she can blink, he vanishes. The hunter is on the prowl. The hunt is on. Will Scar exact his revenge? Drop a comment for part 3. Until next time, ciao.